It's a battle of tariffs, trade wars, and economic strategies that's reshaping global politics. And if you've been paying attention, you know the US and China have been at odds for years. But here's the question: is America really winning the tariff war with China? In 2018, former President Donald Trump took the world by surprise when he imposed tariffs on Chinese imports. It wasn't just about the money, it was about sending a message. He wasn't happy with China's trade practices, its role in intellectual property theft, and the growing trade imbalance between the two giants. Trump said it was time to level the playing field, and he wasn't going to back down. At first, the US tariffs seemed like a strong message, a way to make China play fair in global trade. But the truth? The results haven't been as clear-cut as everyone expected. The start of the tariff war. The trade war started when Trump slapped tariffs on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods, targeting everything from electronics to machinery. The aim was to force China into negotiating fairer trade deals and protecting intellectual property. The idea was simple: raise the price of Chinese goods and see if China would yield to America's demands. But what many didn't anticipate was how this would affect the American economy. The impact on American consumers. While Trump's administration hoped to pressure China into compliance, they didn't account for one big factor: American consumers. As tariffs raised prices on Chinese-made products, American families felt the pinch. Goods from smartphones to toys saw price hikes, and businesses that relied on Chinese imports faced higher costs. Take, for example, the agricultural sector. Trump's tariffs caused a stir in the farm industry, especially when China retaliated by slapping tariffs on American crops. Soybeans, pork, and other exports were hit hard. Farmers were suddenly caught in the middle of a geopolitical struggle, their livelihoods hanging in the balance. Even after the US government offered subsidies to offset some of the losses, many farmers were left struggling. China's retaliation. China didn't sit idly by. They hit back with their own set of tariffs on US goods. But while the US focused on imposing tariffs on Chinese consumer goods, China went after industries that directly impacted the US economy. And that's where things got tricky for Trump. China targeted industries like agriculture, which hit Trump's base hard in key swing states. The truth is, both countries felt the economic squeeze. But China had an advantage. It had already been preparing for this fight. By diversifying its trade partnerships, China was able to reduce its dependency on the US. Meanwhile, the US found itself in a bit of a bind, especially as China began looking elsewhere for its goods. The trade agreement. Did it work? By 2020, after 2 years of on and off negotiations, both sides agreed to a trade deal, the Phase 1 agreement. In it, China promised to buy more American goods, especially agricultural products, and the US agreed to reduce some of the tariffs. But the deal didn't fix everything. The core issues, like intellectual property theft and China's state-driven economic practices, remained largely untouched. Some analysts argued that the deal was more of a truce than a victory for Trump. Sure, China agreed to buy more US products, but the underlying issues remained unresolved. In fact, many critics claimed that the agreement didn't address China's unfair trade practices, and that Trump had failed to push through the deeper changes he promised during his campaign. Is the US winning? So, where does that leave us now? Is the US winning this tariff war? The answer is complicated. On one hand, the US did manage to bring attention to China's trade practices, and the tariffs forced China to make some concessions. But the costs to American consumers and industries have been significant. In the long run, the US may have gained some ground, but it also put a strain on its own economy. The true impact of the tariff war is something that may take years to fully understand. The world has changed since the days of simple trade deals, and in many ways, this trade war has opened a new chapter in the relationship between the US and China. The real question might not be whether the US won, but rather, how the war reshaped the global order. The road ahead, the tariff war with China, was about more than trade. It was about power. Both countries tested each other's limits, and while the outcome remains uncertain, one thing is clear. The US and China are locked in a new economic rivalry. We'll have to wait and see how this battle unfolds and what it means for the future of global trade. What do you think? Is the US winning the tariff war, or is it a game no one can truly win? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the biggest economic stories.